right. I think it's going to be lots of fun. Here with us now from Capitol Hill. Let's talk about it later, boys. Republican representative from South Dakota, Congresswoman Kristi Noem, and Democratic representative from Maryland, Congressman Elijah Cummings. What a great group. Good to have you both on board this morning.
Congresswoman, I worked with Elijah for a long time, so I'm not going to start with him. I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
Right? I know what Elijah's going to say. Congresswoman, what do you think of the speech last night? And anything the president said that you picked up on that thought, oh, hey, you know what? Maybe we can work together as a Congress to get some things done.
Well, you know, there was parts of the president's speech that was certainly inspirational. When he referred to the Army Ranger and told his story, I think it brought all of us to tears. And then at the beginning of his speech, talked a lot about rebuilding trust and working together to get things done. And we've had some real agreements over the last several months with the budget deal and the appropriations bill, and today the farm bill that we've all worked together on. I guess I was disappointed that throughout the rest of his speech that he didn't talk more about how we could work together. In fact, it was either my way or the highway, and if you guys don't do it my way, well, then I'm going to ignore you and do it through an executive order. That alarmed people as we went through it. It got very partisan in the middle of that speech, and that was kind of tough to hear.
Quick follow-up before I get to Elijah, but how can we work together? What would be your proposals as to how to actually break through this?
Well, I'll just give you one example. The president talked about starting some job training programs and putting Vice President Biden in charge of that. We have the Skills Act that went through the House. I would love to see them try to pull some ideas maybe from that bill, or sit down with the authors of that bill and see if there was some of that we could agree on and do together. That's really the faith and the hope that the American people need right now, is that we all have the ability to sit down and be reasonable individuals and talk and move this country forward.
Congressman Cummings, Willie Geist, good to see you again this morning.
Good to see you.
What did you take out of the speech last night that you saw something that we can move forward on as a country coming up this year in 2014? What are the specific pieces of legislation, or a couple of things maybe, that you took out of the speech that are not pie in the sky, but reasonable things that could get done in this Congress?
Well, I do believe that we should be able to get immigration done. I think it's very important, and I think that if, as the president said, if it was actually presented to us in the House, I think members would vote for it, but it's got to be presented, and I think that's a very, very important issue. It's interesting, when that issue came up in the speech, my Republican colleagues sat down. There's a whole segment of our population that wants to be included in the society and be a significant part, and so I think that's a very important piece. But on the other hand, I think the president was making it clear that he still continues to reach out a hand to Congress to say, look, let's work together. But you got to remember, this is a president who only has less than 3 years left in a term. And he has seen over and over again, when he has reached out, the Republicans have said no, and they have been the ones saying my way or the highway. And I sit in a very unique position as ranking on oversight and government reform to see a lot of things that a lot of members don't even know about. That is a tax on this president, and to see it over and over.
I can interrupt just for 1 second.
Sure,
House
Joe.
Republicans have passed one piece of legislation after another that conservatives like myself support and believe in. And instead of those pieces of legislation being worked on in the Senate and then compromised on in committee, Harry Reid just kills them. He never lets them see the light of day. So how do we come together as a country? How does Capitol Hill come together if Harry Reid doesn't even let these Republican bills that pass the House, that get some Democratic votes, to get debated on in the Senate?
Well, certainly I cannot speak for, I have enough problems speaking for the House. I can't speak for Harry Reid. But I would hope that the Senate would look at those pieces of legislation and bring them back, Joe, in conference so that we can get something done. I agree that my constituents get very frustrated. They want to see us get things done. The whole issue of economic inequality, I thought that was a great theme for the president, because there are people looking at us right now who are suffering, who don't have jobs, who can't make ends meet, and they see us not being able to raise the minimum wage, not being able to get unemployment insurance done, and they're frustrated. And they're slipping out of the middle class into a lower class.
Harold Ford. Good morning, Congresswoman Harold Ford. Your state, you have a low unemployment rate, I think the second lowest in the country at about 3.7%. What role is energy playing in that, and what can Congress learn from some of the things you all are doing to create higher paying jobs in your state?
Well, you know, I'm from South Dakota, so we don't have the energy boom that North Dakota is certainly seeing. But I will tell you that some of the regulations the president talked about last night are alarming for someone like me who lives in a state where we need energy to stay warm in the wintertime, to stay cool in the summer. It's a long ways to drive anywhere we need to go. And a lot of the sources of that energy that we use, 70 to 80% of comes from the sources that he talked about regulating out of existence in the past. So that's alarming for people through the middle of the country, that's really the only option that they have right now, and those regulations would only drive up the costs and make it more difficult for people to pay their bills and those businesses to survive. So,
Congresswoman, if he agreed to that, could you support a minimum wage increase if the president laid that out as one of the examples of things he could do to placate Republicans? Could you support some things that Democrats may want?
Yeah, you know, we've got the minimum wage on our ballot in South Dakota this fall. I think that's a perfect way to handle this, is let the people decide. That's not something I'm opposed to, but I do think there needs to be other ideas. In South Dakota, we've kept our taxes low. We've kept our regulations low. We've given people the opportunity to make smart budget decisions. Our state's made smart budget decisions, and we balance our budget every year. That's why we have a low unemployment rate, and businesses are coming there and putting people back to work, and our families do better there.
Congresswoman Christine Home and Congressman Elijah Cummings, always good to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you all so much.